Doc, it's time to rock. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Sunday show. We're on time, Brad, for a change. So does that mean that we're always late because it's the Rock Professor's fault?
Well, because he's not here, I'm going to blame him. Yeah, 100%. It's the Rock Professor. We're always late. Always late. And Andrew, I'm sure you can show the photo of what he's usually up to, yeah?
Yeah. Whoa, that's right. And if people aren't aware of what he's up to, he's in Pisa with the Leaning Tower on his social media account. So have a good time, Rock Professor. We want to do a shout out to him. But more importantly, more important than the Rock Professors, our guests, bro.
Yes. We've got the amazing John ZD351, the cheeky one in the chat usually, joining us on the bottom left. And below me there, the mighty Zach Zedris from Chocolate Starfish. So Zach has joined us because he is a John Sykes Whitesnake authority. I thought, who better to bring in this for this episode than yourself, Zach? So thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Yes.
I've got my Whitesnake t-shirt on as well.
Well, I've got mine on too, mate. So
wow.
Sorry, I don't.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to this one.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zach, for jumping on with us. Folks, if you're not aware of who Zach is, Brad will tell you very shortly, but we had the pleasure of having Zach on, about 12 months ago, doing a Deep Purple album.
Yes.
Fantastic band.
Yeah.
Yes. No, so Zach, and we've interviewed Zach on the show as well, Andrew. So
Yes.
He's
a bloody veteran.
Yes, he knows what he's doing.
You keep going on about how he's like a veteran and so. Where am I supposed to name this guy from? I'm kidding. Look what I got.
Hold on, bro.
Oh my God!
How's that? From the days of cassette singles, I got a picture inside here of Baby Zach. There you go.
I don't think I ever known that.
So there you go, Zach.
I don't think I ever known that.
You've got fans everywhere, brother. You've got fans everywhere. So yeah, Zach's part of the amazing group Chocolate Starfish. So you've been touring. You've been doing a lot, Zach. I see you played in Cairns last week, was it?
Yep.
Yeah,
that was
beautiful.
great.
Yeah, I like playing in Cairns. Which place did you play in Cairns? Was it, Zach?
It was called Savannah in the Round, and it was it's this 3-day festival. It's actually an hour out of Cairns, and people camp there, and it's huge. It was incredible. I think we're doing it next year again. Loved it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you need a rhythm guitarist, mate, I'll put my hand up. I'll just sit in the background. I'll do it. I'm happy to play in it. Yeah, no, awesome. Well done, man. Well done. So I think Zach and I used to play together in a band that I'm still playing in, Rewind 80s, and they were really fun times. I still miss those times.
Very good times.
Yeah, we used to play some pretty good tunes. I think we do Here I Go Again back then, or were we doing that back then?
I think so.
Because
did I sing it?
Sorry, I can't remember. I vaguely remember you doing it with us for some reason. But yeah, it was very cool. They were good times. Lots of loud guitars. Zach used to sort of pick on my tone, and so it was too bottom endy, and very funny times. Learned a lot from you, Zach. It's been great.
I think I just went and turned it down one gig, didn't I?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if you ever realised. Not sure if you ever realised, but I think I tried to turn your amp down once or twice too, mate, because you play pretty bloody loud, mate.
I've grown up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I think the last time we played was my first gig back after my little health thing, and you were pretty loud that night, buddy. No, it was good. I love it.
Just trying to get over you, really.
The bottom end, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a show to do, gentlemen. So
I've got
what
one
do you
quick
reckon
question,
it is
though.
for this? Sorry?
Zach, Zach, just behind you there, is that an Andrew Walton statue looking out the window?
Oh, it actually does resemble. Look,
How
side
come we haven't got Andrew statues?
Does he ever wear a cowboy hat?
He does.
It does, actually.
Well done, John. You're not coming back again. That's it.
I refuse to be part of the club that will have me as a member. It's all right.
Fantastic. It's it's great that you guys can join us. And Brad, we've got 10 people here. So do you want to do a shout out before we talk about the album? And then is Zach going to do the intro? Is that what we got planned?
Yeah, I asked Zach to prepare something just short and
Okay.
Good for the intro there. So as long as you're okay with that, Zach, you're good?
Yeah. I thought about last night, so I'm just going to do it off the cuff. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just highlight a few people in the chat here, and then we'll get into it. So obviously we have in the chat. Oh, Ellen told my mum, happy Mum's Day. Also, happy Mum's Day on a Sunday. John ZD351, thanks for joining us, John. Hugh Caldwell, thanks for joining us. Charles in the chat, thank you very much. Greg Roberts Tune, thank you. Gretch Zeppelin, always mess your name up for some reason. James Stewart, thanks for joining us. And
Hugh's there.
I think I've covered everyone else at this stage. So
Did you get Hugh?
we'll give you guys a bit of a shout out, but make sure if you've done your rankings, you put them in the chat. We want to see what everyone else thinks. Hope you've all done your homework. Yeah. So Zach, do you want to hit us with your little off the cuff intro for this record?
Okay. So I actually got this album the day it came out. I remember we had like an import. I grew up in Canberra, and we had an import record store which I'd go to every Friday. And obviously I'd seen John Sykes in Thin Lizzy, and I there was actually a concert there used to be a show in Australia called Rock Arena or something. It was on late at night. They showed like 80% of this show of Thin Lizzy in Hitchin in 1983 on their Thunder and Lightning tour. Wow. And that was the first time I saw Sykes, and I was just like, who the F is this guy? I had the album Thunder and Lightning. And then, so I used to always get the magazine Kerrang, and I knew they took I think they started writing for this album in 85. They went, I'm kind of giving the history there. I'll introduce it first, then we can talk about it. But anyway, I got it, and I reckon he's the first guy after Van Halen that had a guitar sound that just absolutely floored me. I was just like, what the hell is this? And it's actually listening to it this week. It's still, that guitar tone still blows me away. It's just fat, wide, and especially I've got these new, which didn't work today, but I've got these new Bose earbuds.
Yeah. And
listen to the album on that. It's like hearing it new again, it just sounds incredible. Yeah. So yeah, it absolutely blew my mind, and still does.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I first heard it, I'd heard the singles, Still the Night. I heard Is This Love and Here I Go Again. But it was a bit later that I got like the full CD. I was still a really big Purple fan and early Whitesnake fan, Come Taste the Band era and things like that. So Whitesnake, the early era. But I had heard Sykes on a compilation before 1987 album. I'd heard that as well on Slide It In, I think it was, the US version he plays on. Anyway, so when I first got the album, it was in the early 90s. I think I got the CD, and I hadn't heard every single track on it. I just put it on, and it absolutely floored me. And I used to think to myself, this guitar player, Sykes, he's almost like textbooking all the metal guitar playing and stuff in this popular style of music that Whitesnake was. And I thought he was very creative, but an innovator for that style of music, because everyone was trying to do, in my opinion, like that hair metal thing. Everyone was trying to do a little bit more like Van Halen at the time, but finger tapping was pretty big in the late 80s. And Sykes, even though he incorporates all those styles, he had something a little bit more classic metal, I'll put it, in his playing, but with those long vibratos and all the stuff that I was listening to at the time. I was listening to, Zakk Wylde. I was listening to all this stuff, and I could hear all these Sykes influences in them. So it was like the textbook for me of what was happening, what I was listening to. I was like, wow, this guy is something else. And I have to agree with you, Zach, that the tone of his guitar just floored me, because it was monstrous. It's just ginormous. It's just this big, monstrous tone. And I still think to this day, all the instruments on the album can't keep up with the guitar tone. It's just impeccable. It's like the weight of the music's coming from the guitar, and everything's trying to find its, it just can't quite get there. So, and even listening to it this week, I listen to this album regularly, like every month or so. It comes on, and I'll listen to in its entirety. But this week I've listened to it about 3 or 4 times, and some of the songs that I'd sort of put on, and then I'd listen to it, but I'd wait for the next song or whatever to come on. Like they floored me even more again. It's like, wow. And hearing a lot of the rhythm, I'm going to say it right now. I think Sykes is an incredible lead guitarist, but his rhythm chops are outstanding. It's just his rhythm guitar playing, incredible. So, I'm going to sit down and work on my right hand techniques a bit more now, listening to Sykes. It inspires me to do that. So yeah, it's incredible. How about you, John? What's the first time you ever listened to this record?
Cool story, actually. My mate Luke Foley pulled it out of the back room of the HMB for me 2 days before it came out, and been a fan ever since.
Of course.
No, to tell you the truth, of course, the big singles were all over radio, and when radio was a thing back then, and definitely remember it. All the hair flailing around the dance floor at the Cat House when these songs had come on. But I never really got into this album, and it's only when you guys said we're going to do this album that I've actually heard half of it for the first time. So, and sort of just off the bat, the first listen, I thought to myself, this is all a bit sort of cookie cutter hair metal sort of stuff. I had a friend of mine at school that was a big Whitesnake fan, and this is like predating this album back to the early days, so like around the very early 80s. And he used to always talk about Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody, and of course the band totally changed by the time this album came along. But no, I've listened to it. I've got the long drives to work a couple of days a week, so I put it on then, and I've had it on a couple of times. I reckon I've probably heard it 10, 12 times this week. I decided to do my homework, and definitely some of the stuff's grown on me. I totally agree with what you guys say about Sykes' work on the album. His playing is great. His tone is great. A lot of the things that maybe don't grab me about this album, he makes up for. So definitely that's been a real, obviously, being a guitar fan, I've sort of concentrated on that a bit. But definitely, there's a lot of variation on this album, and yeah, it's something that definitely how I feel about it now is definitely not how I felt about it on the first listen. I've gone through a bit of a journey with it.
Awesome. It's going to be good to hear like your fresh take on a few of these songs then, John, because I think we've all listened to them for a long time. So, or at least half the album, like you said. So that's great.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Andrew? What was your first real listen to this and thoughts on and whatnot on the album?
Cheers, bro. I just want to do a quick shout out to Trev Simtree in here, and our friend from Melbourne, Adam Roach, is in the chat too. So good to see you, Adam.
Cool.
Look, Brad, you said a couple of interesting things in your intro about different types of guitar styles that John Sykes brought together and collected on this album. So I do look forward to talking to you guys about that as we go through the individual tracks, because I think Brad's hit the nail on the head there with this album. So let's look at that. Obviously, when we look at the individual tracks. But I've got to agree with what John said. You know, this album was a huge album, guys, when it came out. I've mentioned this before sometimes when we've done some of the rankings, Zach, that some of my normie friends, when they listen to albums, were getting captivated by it. And this was one of those albums where people that were just listening to pop music were listening to rock through this album, Zach. You know, it brought people in. People that wouldn't normally listen to this music. And I think it's on the power of the singles. You know, the singles were pretty good. And again, we'll talk about them. And also the videos, you know, the pretty cool videos as well. We can't deny the power of the video back in the day that brought people in. But a huge album. I don't listen to this album as much as you do, Brad. So, you know, I've listened to it a few times over the years, but certainly it was on a constant replay. Back in the day, Zach and John, it was this album, I remember. Bon Jovi's New Jersey around the same time. And also
Hysteria
Van Halen
as well.
Yeah.
Hysteria as well.
And Hysteria. Yeah, you got it, bro. No, those were the 4 albums that were huge back in the day, and like you know, I'm old enough to remember going to buy this CD, you know, when it came out, and getting captivated and blown away by it.
Wasn't it still vinyl? It was still vinyl in '87, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I actually saw something interesting.
I think you're right. I think I would have got it on cassette. Yes.
Yeah.
The interesting thing.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
We obviously had to choose between which track listing we were going to review today, and my research, extensive research, looking up Wikipedia, said that the Australian release actually had the American track listing if you bought it on vinyl, which back then was still around, but the European track listing if you got it on CD.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Okay.
Nice.
I only got it CD. I've still got that.
Yeah. And one thing before we kick off the rankings, I'll admit that I didn't know who John Sykes was until this album.
I'm out of here.
This was the album that you know, back when it came out, because I remember getting confused with a lot of other guys because we had no YouTube back in the day, Zach, so we didn't know who John Sykes was, and some of us were getting confused with the videos with Adrian Vandenberg, you know, so it wasn't until, you know, you started to read a few other little magazines that were coming out. Okay, it's not these video dudes aren't the dudes that recorded the album. Okay.
Yeah.
That made it even more difficult, Zach.
That did confuse me back.
It's kind of one of the big shames, isn't it? Like, imagine if Sykes had to, because I've actually just recently, my son's been getting into all the sort of music I grew up on, and he loves this, and he was saying, like, imagine if the videos had John Sykes in them, you know, like how he would be spoken now.
Correct.
So, you know, just disappeared after that. I mean, he did Blue Murder, but it was kind of, you know, he would be huge now.
And Blue Murder never got the recognition widespread as Whitesnake did. Like the headbangers knew it, the musos knew it, but general public to the degree of Whitesnake didn't know it.
Yeah, it's a huge disappointment, and I think that's why Sykes, in a sense, is probably still a bit bitter about it all. So because from my understanding, Coverdale went through after, like, say, the drums are laid down, fired the drummer, bass laid down, fired the bass player, guitars were done, and then I think Coverdale was. Forgive me if I got this information wrong, Zach, but I believe he was fighting to stay in, and Coverdale basically just dropped him. So,
well, there was, they recorded all the basic tracks were recorded in between September and November in '85, and then they spent nearly a year doing guitars and vocals. Yeah, because Sykes spent ages getting that guitar sound because the producer was Mike Olson and Keith Olson and Mike Stone, and they just couldn't get the right guitar sound. And Bob Rock was next door, and they said, "Can you help us get a guitar sound?" And Bob said, "What for? You've been trying for." They were trying for months, and we could talk about this later too. Bob came in and did a couple of little things, and Sykes said, "There it is."
Yeah.
And then Coverdale had vocal problems, so it took him ages. And he actually was and then there's the rumor that Sykes said, "Well, why don't we get another vocalist?"
Yeah. Which Sykes shot that down though, didn't he? He
said, it's David Coverdale's band.
Yeah. Can't get rid of David Coverdale. I mean, he is Whitesnake, so not, classic interview where he's like, "I am David Coverdale, and this is my Whitesnake."
How white was your snake?
So yeah, but no. Anyway, let's get into the track rankings, guys. What do you think? All
Sounds
right,
good, bro.
Zach, do you want to start off with the first track, "Still the Night"?
Okay, so what are the rankings out of again?
Well,
is it up to 10?
1 to 10. If it's a blinder, you just give it like 100 out of 10. If it's an absolute cracker.
If you've got no respect for mathematics, do that.
Well, you can call it 87 out of 10.
I was never good at maths. Okay, Still the Night, it has to be a 10 out of 10 metal classic. Like even my wife loves it. That's her favorite Whitesnake song. It's pretty much got the kitchen sink in it, and I remember putting the needle down, and that I think I counted. There's like 5 songs in the album that start with that, the big Sykes guitar roll. And when that, it pins your head back. And I mean, obviously, there's a Zeppelin vibe there, and but it was, for somebody in 1987, for me at that time, it was like Zeppelin on steroids. I was just like, and then that riff, and then the stop, and you just hear Coverdale sing, and it's basically. It's cinematic, isn't it? Like I just remember sitting there and my dad's Pioneer record player, and I just, it's got everything. And the what are they? Cellos? Well, they're probably keyboards, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
The only thing, you can't hear enough of that solo at the end. It's kind of buried in the mix, and that's always annoyed me. There was another version of the album put out a couple of years ago where they did turn it up a bit. And I think on YouTube you can hear the tracks by themselves. And it's just wild. I've never heard anything like it.
No.
So 10 out of 10. I can't, there's nothing negative about it.
John.
Well, I think it's a great opener for the album. Obviously, it's something that you put the titles on. You know, it bursts out of the gate. Everything stops with that first vocal line. The sort of like people that aren't paying close attention would say that it's sort of like a kind of a Zepp copy and got elements of the Black Dog and elements of Whole Lot of Love with that breakdown part before the solo. But as I've seen written, the brilliant thing that they did was, I think it was in a review that was of the album, is that they didn't just copy those parts. What they did was maybe look at what made those type of arrangements and emulated that in a new way, which is great. So I don't consider it a straight out a Zepp rehash, as some people have said. But yeah, it's a very well put together track. Sounds great, and I didn't give it a 10. I gave it a 9. I thought, like I said, definitely a great tune to choose out of the gate. Much better than the choice of the other track listing, which had "Crying in the Rain" started off. But yeah, definitely. I watched the videos again today just to do a bit of extra research of the 4 videos that were released from this album, and I remember a lot of the parts of it. Didn't remember how cringy it was. I look back at it now, but no, definitely a great track, and deservedly as an opener.
Well done. You're giving it 9, John. That's a potential timeout, John. That's a potential timeout on this channel.
Yeah.
No.
I'm joking, mate.
He's joking. He's joking.
I have to get you back sometimes, John. You can't always do one.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, Still the Night, it's a classic, obviously. I mean, that the way the song opens, it's so powerful. Like Zach said, that the way John Sykes always slides down, like there's 5 songs, you said, Zach, on the album that do that.
I call them the raw, the John Sykes raw.
Yeah, the raw. Yeah, that's perfect explanation, actually. It's got that dark, sultry sort of atmosphere going on. The rhythm section, obviously Neil Murray and Ainsley Dunbar on the drums. The keyboards, Don Airy, I believe, is on keyboards. It's got that atmospheric sort of feel going on with the keyboards. And when David comes in, his voice is just incredible. I know he had vocal problems leading up to it, apparently, but I think, whatever he was doing vocally at the time, I believe when he was trying to track this, he was in recovery or just past recovery, and he was nearly throwing up singing this song, apparently. It's what I read anyway, so I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
but
I think it's like his second, it's one of those famous tricks of just have a run through it. I'm not recording.
Yeah.
Of course he did. Yeah. And then he played it back to Coverdale and Carl said, I'm back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I think he did 2 takes and they just probably mashed the 2 together maybe for this one. So incredible vocal, really. I mean, I'm a huge Coverdale fan. I think he's one of the greatest singers of all time. But his voice sounds great on this album. It's phenomenal. And that guitar tone, like we said, it's really tough. Sounds huge. It carries a lot of weight. What can we say about Sykes? He's a monster. I mean, the pinch harmonics. He's so aggressive with his playing. And I love that. He's got a real aggression to everything he puts himself into. And talking of vocals, I mean, amazing vocal delivery, because I believe Sykes is singing a lot of the BVs on this album, and his vocals on this are fantastic as well. I love the lyrics. I love a good sort of, sort of sultry sort of song with a bit of, it's in the still of the night. Like, I love all that stuff. It's really dramatic. Yeah, it's great. I love it. The guitar riff. What was that?
Sorry, the other important thing, it's got the most babies in the whole album.
Oh, well, that's it. That's And I mean, look, that's where the heavy Zeppelin influence comes in, I think. I mean, look, there's no denying that Zeppelin is in this song. I mean, there's a lot of changes and a lot of the riffs and the stop starts and the drumming and everything like that that's going on. There's a lot of Zeppelin things. I mean, you could potentially call this a bit of a Zeppelin medley on steroids, like you said, Zach. You know, I don't really have a problem with it because I love it. And I think the way the drumming and bass playing are so locked in on this album is great. The breakdown section, John, you said it sounds like a lot of love. You know, with atmospheric keyboards, though, sort of gives that 80s feel. And then Sykes, I mean, his guitar solo, the way he launches into that, it's, you know, his right hand, my goodness, he's a real pick melter. Sykes, you know, he plays incredibly fast. I don't know really too many other players that play that fast and that aggressive. I've seen a lot of players play fast with their right hand, but they're always very precise and very accurate. Not really, but Sykes plays really heavy. And so his right hand, my goodness, his left hand vibratos is equally outstanding in my opinion. The end of the song, there's all those moving chord inversions and everything like that. And I can't really say enough good stuff about this song and Coverdale's vocals. For me, it has to be like 100 out of 10. I'm going to say 87 out of 10 because it's 87, 1987. Yeah, it's the highlight of the record for me. I mean, there's some great songs coming up, but every song, like you said, John, every time this song come on at the Cat House, I think everyone started straight in the middle of the room and the hair was flying and everything like that. It was just, yeah, it's an incredible song.
And the girls too.
Hey?
And the girls too.
Well, that's it. I was saying hair flying everywhere. That was everyone, mate, not just the guys. But Andrew.
I'll only question one point that you just brought up. Was it a Zeppelin influence or the fact that they're basically contemporaries and Zeppelin and Coverdale share influences?
Yeah, you could say that. That's a better way of putting it.
I read one thing that because you know do you guys know about John Kolodner?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he was managing them at the time, and when he heard it, he just rubbed his hands because in America, Americans love Zeppelin. They're on the radio every day over there, and he was like, America needs a new Led Zeppelin. Like he was very happy when he heard that track.
Yeah, I mean, look, the comparisons were coming out at the time, but look, in my opinion, when bands do that, it's a bit of a nod to their heroes. It's not really like they're trying to. Zeppelin did it as well. It's not like they're not guilty of it. They did it as well. They stole from their blues heroes. So it's not like stealing, though. It's just really, I guess, for lack of better ways of putting it, nodding their heads.
Tip of the hat.
Yes, exactly. Andrew.
Yeah, you guys are incredible. I want to say g'day to Grant Fisher, who's joined us in the chat. And as usual, we appreciate your rankings, folks. So please give them to us and we'll highlight them. I'm going to steal a couple of thoughts and sort of mesh them into my points, folks. Zach mentioned something about the intensity or the interestingness of 4 or 5 of the tracks that begin songs on this album, and I was looking back, Zach, on my notes, and I've made this note 4 times on 4 tracks. One of the classic 80s rock opening tracks ever, and so that's my first comment on this. It's definitely one of the classic 80s opening track sounds. Brad, it's got a powerful melodic riff. Love that. I love the lyrics and the vocals by Coverdale. And I'm going to say this too, guys. I like the sneaky little guitar chug that John Sykes has sneaked in there. You know, there's a little bit of the chug there. Love that. One of the elements that he's brought into this album as a guitar player that we're going to talk more about, obviously, when we go through some of the other tracks. Look, I agree with you guys. This is a 10 out of 10. You guys are making some great comments in there. The video was fantastic as well. I love 80s videos, John. I love them. I love them, bro.
Who doesn't?
Mate,
Yeah.
I remember Tawny Katane sort of like crawling around in the video, but what I didn't remember, and I was shocked when I saw it, was Adrian Vandenberg down on his knees doing all this.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I remember reading an interview with Jimmy Page back in the day, and he saw the video, and when they did that, he apparently fell out of his chair laughing. He reckons.
Yeah, I read that up. Yeah. He thought it was bad. Look, yeah, Brad, guys, 10 out of 10. Not quite a Brad score, but one thing before I throw it back to Zach. Brad, this is not the best track on the album. Gosh.
No.
Oh.
All right. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah.
All right. Zach.
Okay. Are we hitting Bad Boys now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also have to make the decision to do I listen to this album as I did as a young fellow, or my, so we're going to talk about this a few times, which is Sir Coverdale's lyrics. So that can really make a rating go down, So, Bad Boys Running in the Night, But, it didn't bother me as a kid. I thought it was unreal. That guitar riff is insane. Another song that just starts off with just guitar. Again, it pins your head back. And also that unreal lick he does, in the pre-choruses. Yeah. I remember just going, this is just... it's like you can hear he's just having the time of his life. Like I get off at the joy in his guitar playing, and also that's got every song on the album is insane, but if you listen to some of the rhythm parts under the solo, they're like he's doing these full fast chugging, which are very typical of Sykes, and Jakey Lee used to do it as well. These sort of I don't know. We used to call him jaking, actually. So something I wanted to say about the drumming. So they went, before they got Ainsley done, but they went through 60 drummers auditioning for this album, and apparently Ainsley was 60.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And I don't know if you guys have heard that the 1987 box set, there's a disc called 1987 Evolutions, and it's really cool. They do every song you hear John and David with a boombox in France, like just with a guitar, and then it kind of morphs into like a band rehearsal thing, and then it kind of morphs into the whole song, and so you hear like obviously the evolution of the song, and but Sykes had all of these were already ready to go, all those sort of riffs, and it's like when you hear on some of those those interviews with Eddie where he's just playing a guitar and in the background you can just hear the strength of their hand too, So I'm going to give this song, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It loses a point for Bad Boys Running in the Night. Just the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's a great track too, though. Killer track too.
Yeah. John.
Knowing this was a particularly favourite album of Zach's, I was worried about pointing out that the some of the lyrics here are a bit, but for this track I didn't mind them so much. I've got that complaint a bit further down the run sheet, but definitely for me this song has the best groove out of the whole album.
Wow.
it is it's not the best song on the album. It's not my favorite song on the album, but it definitely has the best groove on the album. It rocks and it really propels. The lyrics are a bit how you going, but not as bad that I'd really complain about them. And it's, again, I think part of the genre. The whole genre was very much sort of like a 14-year-old boy's fantasy of what they are and what they could be. The solo, as you mentioned, the guitar playing throughout the whole song is fantastic. The solo, when you get these widdly solos, they can either be look at this great exercise that I'm doing, or they can be like, it's a real flurry of musicality, and I think that this one is. Definitely. I haven't listened to enough John Sykes in my life, and I need to go find some more. But definitely great groove. This song would have been a 9 for me, but cringier than the lyrics was that howl at the start. And to me, like, if it was like howling like a wolf, I would have permitted it, but it sounds like a small dog. And so, I don't know. So I've knocked it down. If they do a director's cut without the howl, it would have been a 9 for me. But I'll have to give it an 8.
It's fair score.
That's good.
But it definitely a great song. Definitely wants to be up front in the track listing. This is the kind of thing that you'd have if you're playing live. Definitely wants to be in there in that number 2, number 3 spot. Amping the crowd up for the rest of the show. And no, I'll give it that.
Awesome. Well, Bad Boys, I mean, you guys have already touched on the lyrical content. Bad Boys running in the, that line there is a little bit cheesy, but let's be honest, it was the 80s and everything was fairly cheesy in the 80s. So Coverdale has got a reputation for doing cheesy lyrics, but I think he enjoys doing it. I think there's a bit of tongue in cheek in what he's doing, and for me, it's a real fun party vibe song. It's with high energy. I mean, it's got a great feel, like you said, John. I'm going to say, Zachy mentioned it. His rhythm guitar chops in this song in particular are outstanding. I love the way he plays on this song. The drums and bass they're locked in. It's really, it is a very guitar heavy orientated album. But the drums and bass on this album are fantastic. We get to the solo and it's killer. I mean, Sykes is demonstrating in this solo pretty much all of his wizardry in one solo and guitar techniques in one solo. I mean, he also demonstrates really well how to orchestrate a guitar solo properly, how to build it, how to take it to a place instead of if you really listen to all the solos on this record, he's put a lot of thought into them, and you can actually hear on particular songs, we'll get to it later, where he's tracked like 2 guitars and made one spill over into the other part of the solo and things like that really well. So I do believe I read somewhere that Coverdale mentioned that Sykes, he's playing on this, changed things for guitar players at that period of time. And I strongly believe that. I mean, you got songs like this in particular with that rhythm playing and the percussiveness with the chugging and the things like that he does in it. A lot of guitar players around the time were stealing from John Sykes, and it was very apparent because of this song in particular. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I would have given it 10 because I love the guitar playing so much, but I give it a 1 point less for the cringeworthy Bad Boys bit. But again, I still think it's great, and I'm not knocking David Coverdale for doing that. So well done, David, as well. Andrew.
Yeah, I've classified as a bark intro, Brad. So it's a bark intro. It's not a howl, and I'm still gonna stick by that. I love the crash bash drum Zach that's going on this track. And I know exactly where John is coming from when he talks about the driving aspect of this song. I've got a note here. I love the gallop rhythm on this track. So not only are the thrash guys doing the gallop rhythm, these guys here clearly in this band are doing that. Zach and John and Brad. Not only was it wasn't the sole domain of Megadeth and Metallica. So I think that's a point that we got to probably bear in mind, and I'm sure we'll talk more and more when we go further into the tracks. I'm not going to repeat the lyrics because I will say this though: while David can write some cringy lyrics, man, he can write some great lyrics, and we can probably obviously talk about that too later on. But I agree with you guys too about the lyrics, even though I said I wouldn't talk about it. Brad, I've given this an 8 out of 10, bro. It's never a skip, but it's a solid 8. And I get where John is coming from with that rhythm, that driving. Yeah, I can see how he could classify this song, as a rip snorter, if you're allowed to use that word on the channel, a rip snorter.
Yeah, awesome.
Zach.
Okay, Give Me All Your Love. Is that the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Now, probably my least favourite song on the album, because I think it's always seemed to me like it's really a song that I wrote to try and have a hit single. That's how I always felt about it. And just the repeating of those lyrics over and over and over kind of just get to me after a while. The highlight of the song is actually the guitar solo, which is so. This is one of the songs where he's using he had a Charvel with a whammy bar, Floyd Rose, and there's recently Neil Murray put some pictures online, and there's a picture of John in the studio with his Charvel, which he never used live. But yeah, that's a killer solo. I don't have a lot to say about this song. It was kind of always I always used to kind of skip it. It kind of, for me, it kind of doesn't fit well on the album. Even I think.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to give it a 5.
Ooh,
5 out of 10. Yeah.
Look at Andrew.
Well, it's your show, Zach.
You're entitled to. I can't give you a timeout for that because it's not Silver Night. So
Who's next, John?
John.
Oh,
that's good. That takes the pressure off, doesn't it? I was going to get timed out for a 9, and he's given it 5, so that's good. That frees me up a bit.
Yeah.
Well, the standard is so high on some of the other ones, That,
I get you. And, again, I want to be unbiased and honest about what I think about this stuff, but also I don't want to be, I don't want to be misunderstood as I have in the past to be shit canning something that other people love, and I'm trying to be respectful as I can about that. With "Give Me All Your Love," actually, you know what? I've written a few little notes on everything. That's the one that's I've just written a score down. The songs that don't grab me on this album, there's nothing that I don't want to hear this. It's just like they're the songs that could have been anyone. They, as you said, written with a purpose to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Some of these songs that the least favorite of mine, let's put it that way, would be more generic. When I hear Whitesnake, I want to hear a Whitesnake song. I don't want to hear something that sounds like someone else. With "Give Me All Your Love," I've got no complaints about it, but right now I can think of the chorus after hearing the album, as I said, about 10, 12 times. But apart from that, nothing's really stayed with me. I recall it being an enjoyable listen while it's on, and then it goes away. So with that, I gave it a 7. And to me, that was because there's nothing that I can fault with the thing, but there was no great memory from it, or nothing that really you latch onto.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you guys have sort of summed it up a fair bit. I mean, John, you mentioned you're remembering the lyrical content, at least the chorus, even after and listening to it, for the times you have this week. So the job done really by the band, by Coverdale especially, because he's written a melody to try and get into people's heads. It's a third song in on the album on this European release, so it's not really in a good position on the album, I reckon. But it's not the greatest, strongest song of all. But I really enjoyed listening to the drumming and the guitar playing in this song, especially. I know Sykes isn't a big blues guy, but it has a little bit of a bluesier feel to this song. Probably because of Coverdale, I think. The way he sings is fantastic. His voice sounds great in it. John Sykes throws a few pinch harmonics in there, which we haven't really spoken about, but that's a really big signature thing for him. And obviously guys like Zach Wild have adopted that and made it a big part of their ability as well. And they're playing. I think the solo is orchestrated wonderfully. The guitar solo. The middle section, I mean, it's classic Coverdale vocally, the way, you can hear him breathing in between the vocal lines, where he goes, he always does that. It's like that sultry, sexy thing that Coverdale does. And I know that's a bit cringeworthy, but I actually really think it's funny. I like it for that reason. I do think Coverdale was giving everything he got vocally towards the end of this song. And for those little reasons I've mentioned, probably bumped it up from a 6 to a 7 out of 10 for this, but it's definitely not the strongest song on the album for me. Andrew.
Fantastic, guys. And I just want to reiterate to folks in the chat and to our co-hosts here and anybody who's watching on replay, obviously we love to have a bit of fun here on the channel with our rankings, but it's always about being serious and honest, with our presentation, even though we like to give each other a bit of stick. So just bear that in mind, folks, that we don't condone online bullying on this channel.
Yes, bully in person.
John's got it right. Give me all your love tonight. Look, bros, I'd love to get your opinion on this. This is one song that I always thought that could be a 70s song on this. This could easily be on a 70s super group or band kind of song. It's got that kind of vibe for me. And when I listened to it over the last week, I'm still going to stand by that. Brad, you mentioned something about Coverdale's vocals. That second verse vocals that he has on this, he amps it up on that second verse, and then with the chorus, he's got that power coming through on his vocals. I love that. One of the things I love about Coverdale is the way that he can change his voice through the song. Zach, his voice is an instrument, and I love that. And you can probably, if you're not aware of that, if you're not listening to that, you could probably miss that, which I think is probably a mistake for a lot of people. So, when you go back and listen to this, just listen to Coverdale and then go and listen to Sykes and then listen to the percussion, because you're going to pick up different things. It's one thing that we like to talk about on this channel. If you concentrate on something a little bit, you can hear it a lot clearer than you probably would have had it not been pointed out to you. I agree with you guys too. Zach, completely different solo from the previous song. And again, it's one of the interesting things that John Sykes has. You know, not only is his technique different from song to song and solo to solo, the tone is, you know, subtly different. And I love that. I've given this an 8 out of 10 too, Brad. It's never a skip. Love the song.
Awesome.
You know how you said it's a bit 70s. I wonder what, just say if John gave that song to Phil Lynott, and it'd be a great Thin Lizzy song with Phil singing over the top.
Yeah. I actually had a thought similar, Zach, thinking maybe it was something covered I had spilling over from earlier Whitesnake, which was always a bit bluesier. That's maybe.
Yeah.
So you could be right there, Zach.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. All right. So what are we up to? Zach, we're up to Looking for Love.
Looking for Love?
Yeah.
Okay, so this song took a while to grow on me when I was a young fella. I remember I always kind of skipped it because for me, Is This Love was the big ballad, and maybe a while later I realized what just an epic track it is. You know, it's how long is it? 7 minutes?
Yeah.
It's
6:33.
It's so it's one of my favorites these days. And again, you know, I'll probably go on about every guitar solo on this album, but this is probably one of the best solos on the album too. A favorite of my son, and he's got the vinyl, but he's got the American. He's like, why isn't that song on the album? Why did they do? I don't know why it wasn't on the American album. Maybe I don't know why actually. Anyway, incredible sort of epic ballad, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Interesting. Very good, Zach. You are a legend.
John.
Well, Zach and I were friends for 5 minutes, and now he's going to hate me again. I didn't really like this song too much. I actually was reading in when I was looking up the things that Coverdale was saying that this, he considered it one of the best songs that he wrote with Sykes, and he was also probably wondering why it was left off the American track listing. Look, I don't hate it, but like we were talking about lyrically before, I don't think this holds up lyrically as well as some of the other stuff. It's very much, again, to me, one of these sort of more generic type sort of, sort of power ballad, not quite a ballad to me actually, but sort of in that vein, like rescuing the state of his heart. I mean, maybe I'm being pedantic, but you rescue the heart and the state is what describes it. But yeah, I just thought the lyrics weren't bad. They were a little bit clunky. And again, there wasn't too much in it that would draw me in and say, oh, there's no hook to it or something like that. I can get why it's good, and probably the things that you like about it are the things that are stopping me from absolutely hating it. Because there's nothing on this album that's like that. If I was going to put the album on, there's nothing that I feel like I had to skip. It's not. This isn't the type of thing that I go looking for. I only gave it a 6 just because trying to put it against other songs and how I felt about other songs in comparison to this. As I just said, I've got no real problem with it, but I just don't think that it really is as good as some of the other stuff that's on the album. And I'm kind of a bit ambivalent to it. But like I said, if you're putting the record on, it's one long journey, and definitely the music to it, the playing on it's fantastic. If it was if it was an instrumental, I wouldn't have a problem with it, to tell you the truth. I'd like to see the lyrics written.
Awesome.
Fair enough. Well,
Brad, I just want to mention, at the end when it gets really heavy and he does those little, there's lots of little, a lot of guitar candy in that song.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a guitarist's. I think I think a guitar player would gravitate. A Sykes fan will gravitate to this one because there's a lot of John Sykes's, let's say, pyrotechnics, maybe, or his ability in there. I mean, Looking for Love for me, it's got that dreamy, clean guitar at the start. I love that actually. I think it's wonderful. Um,
Sorry to interrupt you, Brad. So that's a 60s Strat plugged straight into the board, and just they used outboard gear.
Sounds great. Yeah, it's interesting to know that because as much as being a Les Paul dude, I love Strats, and I always find when I hear these things like Strats being plugged straight into a desk, they usually sound fantastic. They've got that sort of real crystal clear, clarity bell-like sort of thing going on. But also David's vocal in this, he's got that breathy vocal at the start, very laid-back vibe. I noticed on this song, I'm not sure I've noticed it on any of the other songs up to this point, that the drumming, the snare sound's got that real typical 80s reverb and stuff going on there. It sounds like a slap or you're popping a balloon sort of sound. It's got that with lots of, and I like that. It's got fantastic. It really typical is like that typical 80s sound. I think the vocals on this are fantastic. I think Coverdale, the way he sings, is phenomenal, and the background vocals are phenomenal as well. The intensity of the song builds up, it breaks down in the middle, and then we get to that sort of classic melodic John Sykes solo, and then around 3 minutes 40, it's just like that pick melting sort of picking that he does so fast. I think the outro solo is equally as good, if not, it's insane. It's fantastic. I'm sorry, John. I absolutely love this song. I gave it a 10 out of 10, buddy, and never a skip. But I think your points are very valid, John. I'm not trying to, John.
Yeah, it's good.
Andrew.
You're right. You're right. No. We get your point, bro. We want to say hey to Holly Lewis, folks. She's in the chat. Good to see you, Holly. Sorry, we are an hour earlier. We're going to be starting this time from now on because it's daylight saving where Brad and I are and these guys. So the rock professor's just going to have to get up an hour earlier, but he doesn't know that yet.
When it adjusts when his daylight savings finishes, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Zach, brother, you said some interesting points that are basically taken off my notes, bro. So, I agree with you. When I first heard this album too, we used to skip it. It was a skip album, but I don't skip it anymore, Brad. And I've got the note here too, like you, Zach. The solo is one of my faves. I agree with you. The solo on this track is phenomenal. It's got, everything that you were talking about, the guitar candy. It's got, and I love that word. I think that description. I think that's what I like about it. I love the pinch harmonics that Brad mentioned earlier that John Sykes loves to do. And did you guys check out the fretless bass at the start? There's that fretless bass sound going on there, which was in vogue around this time, in the mid 80s, that fretless bass sound. I love that. And Brad, this is another track, bro, and I've made this note here that makes me think, why is this an 80s track? Again, this could be another 70s track, and I think it's because you guys have just said that Strat sound, look, I've given this 9 out of 10 too. Not quite a 10 out of 10, but I've given this a 9 out of 10. One of my favourite tracks on the album.
Yeah. Without sort of, summarising, but I kind of think I agree with all of you guys. When I first got into this album used to be a skip. This song used to be a skip for me. So,
So I'm not surprised John's ambivalent to it.
You know, one of the things I didn't say was that there's something about this song, and this sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it reminds me of a song I can't remember. But it's like I'm the fretless bass definitely reminds me of some other stuff that I've heard, and the cadence of the lyrics, not so much the lyrics itself, but the vocal line and the way he delivers the lyrics definitely reminds me of something else that I've heard before, but I can't place it.
Not Paul Young?
No, like I said, man, I can't place it, and I don't want to take up our time on me wondering what's going on. But so yeah, maybe I haven't heard it enough times to really get into it. But I get what you guys are saying, and as I said before, we all come to a song and find our own stuff in it. So
that's what it's about, brother. It's chicken soup. You know, you don't know what you're going to get, whether you get the chicken bone or a potato bread when you dip into it.
As a wise man once said, always order the beef. Too many things taste like chicken.
Zach.
Okay, so I remember because I was a fan of I grew up on Deep Purple, so I was a fan of all the old Whitesnake. So I knew the original version of "Crying in the Rain." I had what was that on Saints and Sinners?
Yeah,
and the original's a really great song, you know. So I remember again. So I'm just going to start this by saying this is a 10 out of 10 song. It's pretty much like it's got a lot of the qualities of Still of the Night. It's a big, long, epic track with just an incredible guitar solo in it. Even I remember Doug Aldrich doing it on that Whitesnake live video, and poor guy's having to come after Sykes and learn that solo, you know, note for note. It's
listen to that.
And apparently John was way against re-recording the old songs because they also wanted to do Full Fear Loving, which he did on the next album. But that's why John isn't on the solo for Here I Go Again. He'd already gone back to England, and he said, I'm not coming over unless we bring my whole back line over. And anyway, that's for later. So everything, Coverdale's vocals are just incredible, and I'll just reiterate what Brad said. Like that era, Coverdale is my favorite sort of rock vocalist of all time, and yeah, these are great lyrics. Not cheesy. It's just a total powerhouse. The whole band. It's never left the band's live set. You know, that's says how important it is in Snake history. Snake history. 10 out of 10, incredible song. It's because I pretty much when I'm driving, probably like all of you guys, it's the main place I listen to music, and I usually have all my songs on shuffle, and I never skip that song, never ever in my life. It's just incredible.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, actually, the more I think about this song, the more that I like it, more than I think that I did like it. Definitely classic sounding Whitesnake. To me, I actually went back and also because they didn't really have the proper version on Spotify, I grabbed all the tracks and made a playlist out of it. And I went back and I grabbed the 2 original versions that have been covered on this album. And
that's a good idea.
I hadn't listened to those ones much. With Crying in the Rain, I don't think that it's that different to the original version. Definitely it's got the same sound as the 87 album, and it's updated that way. The arrangement's pretty much identical, and I don't think it's changed as much as what Here I Go Again was. But definitely one of the stronger tracks on the album. I don't know why I scored it so low as I did on my notes, but I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna bump it up to an 8.5 at least. I think that it's definitely indicative of what Whitesnake is overall. Fits very well with the album, but also fits very well, obviously being an older tune with their whole sort of like repertoire. And yeah, I'd definitely let this one play through if it popped up on a shuffle as well.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. Good points there, mate. It is a very Crying in the Rain. It is a very classic sort of Whitesnake thing, isn't it? Like it's got that full, it's got everything in it that you sort of associate with Whitesnake. I mean, the song starts with those huge guitars and the melodic riff. You can hear the influences creeping in this song, I reckon. The rhythm section, they sort of maintain that solid foundation in this song, and the keyboards add the depth to it. But Coverdale's vocals are really bluesy and emotive in this. He's reflecting the lyrical content in a heartfelt way, like he's sort of longing. He's giving that impression when he's with the vocal delivery, and I love that. I think he puts himself into the vocals a lot, and I think that's maybe why I like it, because he's just putting himself into the lyrical content and he delivers it that way. Great background vocals. I don't even know where to start with John Sykes' guitar work. I'm going to characterize it by saying it's tasty phrasing, squealing, pinch harmonics, insane dynamics. It's one of Sykes' sort of most memorable solos for me. It's full of all of his techniques that he does, and I love his aggression, the way he plays on the fretboard and with his right hand as well. For me, this is always a 10 out of 10 and never a skip. Andrew.
You know, you guys are fantastic, seriously, with your points. And again, you know, coming in last means that you just have to sort of repeat a lot of what you guys have been saying. But I have to agree. Again, I've made this note here. You guys have characterised the song as classic Whitesnake. I've got a note here, classic Coverdale. This is a classic Coverdale song, Brad. The lyrics are fantastic. It's a great example of his lyrics. Fantastic storyteller, Zach. You know, he's up there with the best of them. These English guys are fantastic lyricists, and one of the reasons why we love them. And every now and again, they can pull out a cheesy one, and that's fine. You know, some album fillers, and there's probably a couple coming up, maybe. You know, but you know, Brad and I have always agreed, you know, when we've done some Whitesnake stuff, Zach, you know, that we love Coverdale's storytelling aspects. And look, I won't repeat what you guys have said other than give my score. I've given this a solid 8.5 out of 10, guys, only because there's a couple of crackers coming up. But Brad, John, Zach, never a skip.
Just real quick,
okay,
what do you guys rate this as being the opener and the alternative track listing?
Oh.
Well, you know, for me, because I grew up with that record, I felt it so. No, this doesn't work because I was just so used to that Still of the Night. Is that the opening track listing on the US album? Is it?
Yeah. So on the US one, I know, like, the idea of taking out "You're Going to Break My Heart Again" and what was the other one? "Looking for Love." I don't know why they needed to rejig the listing as much as they did if they just wanted to take those two out for the time. That would make then "Here I Go Again" the closer, which may or may not be a good thing. But definitely for me, the original version's got a bit of a musical sort of like intro before the vocal comes in, whereas the 87 version, the first thing you hear is the first line of the song. But to me, if I had the choice, I'd definitely put Still of the Night up front rather than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Still of the Night makes more of a statement, doesn't it?
I can't really hear a different track listing on this album because I'm used to hearing Still the Night start the album. So
yeah.
Good point, though,
sorry,
John.
Sorry to jump in there, but I thought that was an interesting point.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, I don't know why Whitesnake's one of those bands where, I was in the 90s, I was trying to track down like the US version of Slide It In with Sykes on it because there was another version available that didn't have Sykes on it. And it's like Coverdale. I don't know whether it's the record companies or what, but I'd say it'd have a lot to do with Coverdale. The record companies, I believe that they decided the US version needed to start with that, but I don't think it's a great track, like an album opener. I don't think so. I think it's more of a side 2 opener or it's a belting song, but it's not a good opening point for an album. Definitely not.
Yeah, it's one of those classic, what they call it, an album track,
Yeah. It's 3-4 songs in, bam, hits you with it's not like Still the Night for me. But anyway, Zach, next song.
Okay, Is This Love? So obviously that era, every band was doing their, well, a little bit later, they all did the power ballads, but as far as I'm concerned, this is probably one of the best power ballads of all time. Now, what's really funny is on this Whitesnake Evolutions album, you hear him and John working it out in France, and John goes, "Excuse me," and he talks. He goes, you can hear him walk over to the tape recorder, and he goes, "The song heard around the world." So he knew it was going to be a big hit. Apparently, he wrote it for Tina Turner. Whether Tina Turner ever saw the song, but apparently he wrote it for her, and no, this is not good enough for her. Anyway, a song I've always loved. I played the absolute crap out of it in my first car because it has one of the best guitar solos of all time on it. It's John's vibrato, the sound. Apparently, this is the only solo on the album where he uses his Jose Marshall. The rest is Mesa Boogie, Coliseum, two of them slaved. But yeah, men love it, women love it. It still gets radio play to it's a 10 out of 10, incredible ballad. The lyrics work for this song, I think. I don't find them cheesy, and I still love it to this day. Not a skip. 10 out of 10. Everything in it is unreal.
Yeah. John.
I'm just looking up the lyrics here because I really don't remember the lyrics really being cheesy on this. I mean, they're not Shakespeare or nothing, but
sorry, and we get, in the verses we get that sexy covered vocal.
Well, yeah, and that's either done well or not. And when it's not, it's cheesy. And I think it's done well in this case. To me, this song is a mood. The whole sound of it. It's a beautifully crafted piece where the music, the lyrics, the instrumentation, the sounds of the instruments that they've gone for, it all fits. And definitely, like I would say, you go to anyone who knows Whitesnake and say, name some Whitesnake songs. If this is not the first, it'll be the second that they come up with. It'll have
Good
to
point.
It's in the Whitesnake realm. This is iconic for them, and the thing is it's amazing what you can do because with cover versions, you can come up with your own idea of something and change the music, change the lyrics, change the arrangement of it, and you'd never pick this as being the Bob Marley song. Apart from that, I think it's just I I think it's one of the absolute Whitesnake classics. Has to be a 10.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's a beautiful
I
song.
think Ellen means written for Tina Turner.
And, didn't know that. And as much
No.
as this is the quintessential Whitesnake song, I could see her doing it.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's got a very private dancer vibe about it. Like they're sort of like, they're not similar songs, but again, the vibe that they give off is very that sultry sort of thing. And would have been interesting to see that happen.
I didn't know that either.
I think Cavell wrote it for her, and she was simply the best, so she didn't want to take it.
Cheers, mate.
Sorry, I had to take it there. I had to. I think it's a beautiful song. I've always loved this song, and Zach, you probably read my notes, or it seems that way because you pretty much said everything I've got in my notes here. I love the arrangement with the clean guitars, the keyboards, the dynamics in the rhythm section. David Coverdale's vocals, they're outstanding. He's tender, he's romantic, he's expressing like vulnerability and love. And John Sykes' background vocals, we've got to mention that because they're fantastic in this song. His guitar work, I don't know, he just has a wonderful way of adding depth and emotion to a track. And the harmonies, that little harmony section before, I think it's the second verse or whatever, you guys know the part I'm talking about. It's beautiful. And then the main solo, the highlights, it's everything that I love about John Sykes. I love his melodic playing and his phrasing. His vibrato is outstanding. And, for a guy that I hear this solo is very bluesy. It's got a lot of feel to it. It's amazing. Look, like you said, Zach, it's one of the greatest love ballads of the 80s and probably of all time. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Never a skip for me. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, guys, look, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon, obviously, and agree with what Hugh says up here. It's one of the greatest. In fact, it's probably a perfect 80s and can I say hair metal, but not really mean a hair metal, rock and roll song. It's just, Zach, it's perfect. It's a perfect.
Power ballads, they call them these days.
Power. Yeah. It's perfect. It's the lyrics, the vocals, the drums and the bass, the feeling of space that the song has. The video, everybody knows this song. You're right, John and Brad. It's one of the songs that everybody knew back in the day that wasn't even listening to this music. I want to remind folks that this was a top 5 pop song. Zach, this wasn't on classic radio back in the day. This was on pop radio. So. Got to bear that in mind, and look where pop music's gone over the last 30 years. It's incredible.
It's gone, all right.
Brad, there's a bit of blues going on in this solo, bro.
Yeah. It's a lot of feel, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of blues going on, and, this is never a skip. It's just a fantastic song. It's perfect. It's a perfect song. And have I given a Brad score?
Not yet. Oh, yes, you did, I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
There might be some more coming, but this is a Brad score. This is definitely a highlight. And the fact that it's been still played, Zach, on classic radio is a testament to, how great the song is.
I remember this song used to come on at the Cat House, and it used to get them all up.
Oh yeah. That close little cuddle dance, Brad.
Yeah, the cuddle song. Yeah. And back to the cuddle suite. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Andrew, I think we're about midway, so you want to show some pictures, buddy?
I
If
will
you're
do
ready.
that, brothers. Give me 2 seconds. Where are we? Here we go. So the photos, ladies and gentlemen, are brought to us this week from this guy here. He's on his holiday in Italy. He's in Italy, so he's making those connections, bro. You know, those family connections.
Oh yeah. He's getting it, you know.
Sorry, he's upset me. He has, like, he's gone on a guitar holiday, and he hasn't sent us. He sent us one photograph of a pool and another bloody photo just taken on the streets. He hasn't even got the camera straight. I want to see photos of guitars or something.
Well, I want videos to put on the channel. Anyway, here's the album cover. So quickly before we go through and look at some of the pics, I just want to get. We'll go with you, Brad, then Zach, then John. Always loved that album cover. I thought the album cover was just fantastic. Brad.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I love the emblem. I love the way that it looks like it's on a, you know, an old building, an old walls all cracking. It's amazing, fantastic.
It's on marble nearby.
Yeah, it actually looks like it's looks great. It's got some
Zach, what did you think of it?
I think it looks very, you know, classy, and that was the start of the new Whitesnake logo. Took over from the old one, and it looks classy.
Cool. John, you got thoughts on the album cover, bro?
Well, they could have cleaned it up around a bit down the bottom of the emblem there, and a bit of spack filler in the cracks. But I suppose that's what it looks like, eh?
All right.
I mean, you're taking a photo for the album cover. Clean it up, guys. But yeah,
it's got a real gladiator vibe to me, like Roman.
Definitely Roman Empire type sort of thing.
Who's the band?
Zach, do you want to go through them?
Okay, left to right, the late great Cozy Powell, who apparently in the beginning didn't like John Sykes at all. He had to be talked into it by Lord Coverdale. The man himself, second from this, David Coverdale. John Sykes with the blonde hair, and Neil Murray, the bass player, on the right. Apparently, when John joined the band, Coverdale's mother said to him, "Oh, what have you done? There's going to be no girls looking at you anymore."
It's obviously, and then he dyed his hair a bit lighter, I think, after that. Going by that photo.
Yeah.
That's a recent photo, or recenter.
Right. Okay. Yep. With his.
That's from his Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
Oh, Thin Lizzy, is it?
That's when Sykes was fronting it. That's probably from around 2008, I would say.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. The two songwriters there, Coverdale and Sykes.
Is that the same photo as the first one?
No.
It's just a bit of a close up.
It's got a Randy Rhodes vibe going.
That's from when he was young, when he joined Lizzie, I think.
Mm. Yeah.
That's from Rocky in Rio. And John was voted the sexiest man of the festival, which I'm sure Governor would have hated.
Yeah. That's why he's out.
Oh, yeah, that would have pissed them off, bro.
Yeah. No, he had it all going, didn't he? The looks,
that's
the
a
playing.
Cool strap.
Yeah.
If I recall, my aunt had the matching handbag.
That's a bit later, obviously, with an early picture of Sykes.
Yeah, so that picture of Sykes is from the final Lizzie tour.
Okay. Yeah. See there the mirror.
I think that's from the Slide It In tour.
Yeah, that's his mirrored scratch plate there. That's cool. I love that.
I just read something today that it was actually Phil Lynott that encouraged him to swap out all his plastics for mirror and metal.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right, because
When you think about it, you Phil's base as well.
correct.
Right. Makes sense now. Yep.
And there's one quote there from Coverdale.
Mm.
John Sykes soloing and playing on this album is truly landmark stuff and so influential to a lot of people I know. I hope he's very proud of it because I am.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. 100%. Well, this album is very much a John Sykes record for me.
Mm.
So we were talking about Les Pauls, and obviously Sykes is a Les Paul fanatic. Brad and Zach and John, you've got something there that you want to show us. Zach, was Sykes influential? Was he the influence in you getting that?
It used to have the mirrored pickguard on it and stuff, but I took it off. But it's pretty much the reason I own a black Les Paul Custom is because of John. Yeah. I've taken the finish off the back of the neck. But yeah, an incredible sounding guitar.
Brilliant.
And he's a bit of a monster, that guitar, Zach. I've always loved the tone of that thing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Got the original pickups in it, or?
No, now it's actually got Doug Aldrich pickups in it. Which is,
Take that, John Sykes.
That's what I've got in mind.
The John Sykes Dirty Fingers in it for a long time, and then I replaced it with these.
Yeah, that's what I've got in this one here, and I got them in 2 Les Pauls, and I won that one from Sir. Remember on Instagram, Zach?
Yeah.
So I've still got to fit that.
Unreal,
I can't believe it. So I still got to fit that in another guitar, which I've been putting off, but because a refret job's in order for my main Les Paul, but yeah, saving the pennies.
Ouch.
But have you had that refretted, Zach?
No. It's actually still pretty good. I've had it. I've had it dressed a few times because I remember once I dropped it, and the string made an indent. So I kind of sanded it, but then it was all out, so I had to get it dressed. But it's pretty good. I'm dreading getting it. Like, what do you do with a custom because of the binding? Like
Yeah. If you
what
get
do you
a
get
good,
it refretted and not.
if you get a good luthier, Zach, he can do it. I got a Greco refretted locally by a guy. Wasn't cheap, but where the nibs are, he did it perfectly, mate. Put the frets in the nibs, so you can find. I suppose it's a matter of finding a luthier to do it, Brad.
Yeah.
I'd be very scared to get it done. So I remember years ago I got a guitar refretted and it came back and he put the bigger frets in it, it kind of ruined the whole feel of the guitar, and I ended up getting rid of that neck and changing it. But yeah, it's a scary thought.
You're only going to refret a neck that you haven't got enough to dress down, so obviously your frets are going to be back up when you get them done.
Yeah.
It's a scary thought, 100%.
And the customs are nicknamed the Fretless Wonders, where they're nice and low to begin with anyway. So
I actually had to get, when I got my Charvel, I had to get the frets lowered because I just wasn't used to such high frets. Freaked me out. So yeah,
Beautiful. Thanks, Zach, for showing that. What are we up to, guys?
We better get back into it. We're an hour and a half in, and we're only halfway through the album.
Yeah. Well, we'll get through some of this. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, this one will be quick. Is it "Children of the Night"?
Straight through the heart. I've got
Straight from the
Straight
heart.
through the heart. I kind of lumped that and "Children of the Night" kind of together. Look. The solo is the star of this song. Let me put it that way. And Sykes' rhythm play, it's a bit of a, again, it's up against such monumental other tracks. It kind of fails living up to their awesomeness. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna give it a. Well, it's one better. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I can't say a lot about it. It's not one of my favorites. It's probably a skipper. Again, the 2 tracks that they left off the US version, that could, what's you're gonna break my heart again, which is an incredible song. Don't know why that wasn't on there, but we'll get to that one. Yeah, 6.
John.
Thanks for that, because I wasn't going to be too kind to this song. It starts off pretty good. The first few chord vamps sort of sound like you're listening to the intro of this song, and straight away I thought this is like in the middle of the movie where the guy's training for the big fight or the big game.
Montage, training montage.
The thing is, once then it sort of goes into the main body of the song. That's too fast for a training montage, and you're gonna burn yourself out before the game. So that's no good. And then I was trying to figure out what it reminded me of. The very first time I heard this, it zooms along so fast. It actually felt to me like the drums were like half a beat in front of the rest of the band. I didn't get that on subsequent listens, but like I said, it really to me it sounds rushed. And the only thing that I can sort of get a feel for this song is that it's either something that you'd hear played at some big rally with Tony Robbins trying to give you motivation, or some aerobicize World Cup or something like that, where there's a guy in a blue spangled unitard going like that. So and then again, going back to our previous discussion on the lyrics, it's kind of the same cliches thrown over again. If you're just letting the album play through, you can let it go. It's only a 3.5 minute song, but probably the weakest track of the album. And I gave it a 6 as well.
Yeah, I haven't got a lot of notes on this one, guys. I think it is the weakest track on the album. I put it's got that energetic sort of rock arrangement. It's got a catchy guitar riff, I guess, and that driving sort of rhythm section going. It has got a bit of an early Whitesnake vibe to me, but I love early Whitesnake, and I don't necessarily like what they've done with this as much. So David Coverdore's vocals, they're fairly confident and determined, as he always is. He's coming straight for the heart. And John Sykes is, I laugh because I've just got this thing with Coverdore. He's so serious about his vocal, and he puts himself in the song. And I don't know, for some reason, I love you, David Coverdore, if you're ever watching this, but sometimes it's hard to take you serious, and then I don't know. He's like comical at times, yeah. It's funny. Anyway. John Sykes' guitar work in this is great. It's got a searing guitar solo, obviously. The rhythm section are great. The keyboards add that 80s element. I had to listen to this like a few times to rank it. I ended up giving it 6.5 out of 10. But that's more really for the guitar playing and David's vocal, but it could have been left off the album 100%. Sometimes I skip. Let's put that. When I was listening to this, when I first bought the album, I used to skip it religiously. Gone. See you later. Next. Andrew.
Yeah, look, good to see that we're all on the same money here. Look, I agree with you too. The guitar solo, again, like what you're saying, Zach, is the star of the album. I've got that note here too. Album filler. It's not Coverdale's best lyrics. You know, we've mentioned it before, haven't we? That this guy is quite adequate up there as far as being a genius with some of his lyrics. Zach and John, not on this song. This is a bad song. Sometimes a skip, and I've ranked it. I was a little bit scared that you guys might give me shit. I ranked it 7.5 out of 10. So, probably a 6 out of 10. It's this song and the next song, without giving too much away. You know, not the best song. Not the best song on the album. Zach.
What's the next song? Don't Turn Away?
Don't Turn Away.
Don't Turn Away.
Okay, this song's always frustrated the bejesus out of me because I think the chorus is just terrible. The rest of the song is really cool and it builds and builds. I love Coverdale singing in the verses. While the solo is great, it's sort of kind of weird as well. So, yeah, I just hate the chorus. I hate where they went. Are you back, Brad?
Yeah,
we're doing Don't Turn Away. I'm just saying this song really frustrates me because I hate the chorus, but I love the way Coverdale's singing the verses and stuff like that. It's fantastic, but I'm going to give it the same as the previous song. 6 out of 10 for everything but the chorus.
John.
Well, Zach, seeing as we've been best friends for the past hour and 40 minutes, going back all that way, I'm going to tell you the secret to how to really enjoy this song. And you've got to imagine it exactly what it is. This is a damn good Journey song. And if you and this is not a joke. If you next time you listen to this, put it on and then just in your mind try to think of Steve Perry. Right, singing this song in the way that Steve Perry would sing it, and it would fit perfectly. Now I'm talking
I agree.
Frontiers.
I love Steve Perry.
Raised on Radio era Journey, right? That sort of like maybe a couple of years before this album came out. But to me, the instrumentation of it, the guitar solo is very Neil Schon-like. And if you imagine, like I said, imagine Steve's way that he would sing it in a very sort of like almost a faithfully type sort of way, man, that's what this song really does. To the point where like this jumped into my mind like the first or second time I heard it, and each time I hear it I sort of like just find myself doing a bit of a mental edit and erasing the Coverdale track and putting Steve singing it, and it's a kind of a not the best but a pretty good Journey song. Apart from that, the usual sort of critique that we've given some of the songs on this album being that the lyrics aren't quite cringy but pretty generic, a bit sort of like I've got my notebook of cliches. Oh, that'll fit nicely there. I actually gave it an 8, but because I'm listening to it with that in mind, I don't know. I'm really I like Journey for what they are, so I think that's the secret to this song. It's found its way to the wrong band for some reason.
I like it.
Well, Andrew, we've always said, it's great doing these shows and getting other people's analysis of these tracks, and then we go back and listen to them again. And you start putting those analyses into the way you listen to the song. So now I'm never going to be able to listen to it as if it's David Coverdale singing it. I'll be hearing it as Steve Perry. So yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I like Steve Perry too, but okay, I'm going to hear it as a Journey song now. So thanks, John.
Well, you know what they say, bro. Don't stop believing.
Yeah. Oh, the cheesy cliches. That
Oh,
happen.
you're not the only cheesy one on this show tonight, bro.
Don't turn away from me. Look, the song begins with that melodic sort of guitar intro, and it's got a rock sort of orientated arrangement, in my opinion. The strong rhythm, the keyboards, Coverdale's vocals are very emotional and reflective. The way he's put himself into the song. John Sykes' guitar work, and this is the highlight for the song for me. Like I said, I think this album is very much all about John Sykes and David's vocal, but very heavy John Sykes. It's an impressive solo, obviously. Normally, probably would, when I used to first listen to this album, I used to skip it. But I give it a 7. It's not the weakest song on the album, but it's no more than a 7 for me. But never a skip now. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, look, I gotta agree with you guys, and this track and the previous track aren't the stars on the album, and we've said this before, haven't we, guys? Many times. A great album's allowed to have a couple of filler tracks in it. And this is certainly the 2 filler tracks for me. I got to agree with you. The keyboards are fantastic on this. Zach, I like the arpeggio chords that are going on this track too. I like that. I can hear some arpeggio chords being played away. But look, I'm giving this a 7 out of 10, and it might be sometimes a skip, Brad.
Fair enough. What are we up to, gents?
After this is
Children of the Night.
All right, Zach.
So this is one we're probably all going to talk about the lyrics. This is a great track ruined by some just silly lyrics. The guitar playing underneath it is incredible. He's doing that, that jaking, I call it, but just that typical great Sykes riffing. The solo is incredible. But what is a child of the night? What are children of the night? It's just
children are meant to be in bed by 9 p.m.
Yeah. Are you ready to rock, children of the night? It makes me want to skip it every time I hear it. I get to the chorus. I might go to the solo and then I'm out. So 10 out of 10 for the riffing and the tone and everything, but the lyrics are just a 1 out of 10. So I'm going to give it a 5, like 5 out of 10.
John.
Well, thanks for the permission to give this one a bit of a dig. Children of the Night, I suppose, to answer your question, Brad, what is a child of the night? I think his intention was, people who are born to be part of the night and to do their thing in the darkness or whatever like that. But Children of the Night. To me, I think of the bloody pasty-faced guys in the robes chasing Charlton Heston and the Omega Man. What?
Great movie.
Yeah. Classic from my childhood. But it's a song about rocking and what you can't have an album in the 80s without a song about rocking. I mean, you can talk about all your other stuff, but if you're not talking about rocking, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? The crowd needs to know that you're there to rock. So cheesy is as bleep lyrics. Musically, like you said, man, musically it's a great tune. And another one that I said could definitely do it with a lyrical rewrite and be something really top notch. You can't knock the music on it at all. And I wouldn't skip it and just sort of like I'll say what Brad was nearly going to say, but was afraid to say it before, is that Coverdale can sort of like teeter on the edge of self-parody at times, and I think that's this is one of those cases. But I reckon it's a pretty cool track. I gave it a 7. I could probably bump it up to an 8. I could probably bump it down to a 6. But yeah, it's a bit of an also-ran, but not the weakest track. But yeah, give it a go. Just go with it. It's about rock.
You must never unchain the night as well.
Look, Children of the Night.
Creatures of the Night.
It's I love the guitar riff. I love the playing. I can't deny the playing under this one. To answer your question about what I reckon he's singing about, I think he sees himself as a bit of a daddy, and he's saying these are all children of the night. Yeah, so he's like a coming on the daddy. So that's what I'm putting in my brain. So I really like the vocal power that he puts into the song. Lyrically, it's hit or miss for me. I've put here, I love John Sykes' rhythm guitar work in this song. Very percussive, very aggressive. He puts loads of feeling and attack into his playing, and that's what I love about him. The guitar solo is screaming, and the arrangement for the guitar solo is really, really good. I mean, he's put a bit of thought into what he's doing in the solo, and musically, it's a 10 out of 10. Because of the lyrical content, maybe I'll bump it down to about a 7 out of 10. Yeah, maybe 6, but I'll give it a weak 7 out of 10. Never a skip. Andrew.
Well, look, after the 2 previous songs, we're back on fire with Coverdale, the power of Coverdale on this track, aren't we, with his vocals? Time for action, you know. I think what he's trying to do here, guys, is he's trying to channel Ronnie James Dio, like Children of the Grave. Oh no, that's right, I can't do that. Children of the Night.
I was about to jump in with that. He's missed trying to do what Dio does.
Yeah. And this is his imitation of it. But that's okay, you know, because we've already said, you know, it's okay to borrow, Brad, from other artists. Look, I have to agree with you guys. The guitar on this, the tone, and that solo, guys. You know, Zach, I never heard anything like this solo at the time. You know, it was on this track. It was just, you know, Sykes was just in his own category. You know, he wasn't one of the guitar players out of Def Leppard. He was just doing his own thing on this track, and I love it. And because of that, and the powerful percussion that backs up the guitar solos on this track, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10, guys. You know, I can put the lyrics, I can put corny lyrics aside, guys, and still give the song, you know, what it's worth. And I think, it's one of the highlights as far as the guitar work goes with Sykes. Love it.
Yeah,
I love Coverdale's scream. Sorry.
No, you go. I
love Coverdale's scream into the solo, and a lot of these songs have a little separate written section for the solo. That's why they elevate as well, like that. And it's just it's great.
I was just going to say, I'm going to try my Steve Perry trick and imagine Dio singing this one.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah, that works.
Dio would get away with these verses and maybe even he'd definitely get away with the chorus and maybe the verses.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'll send you a message. I'll let you know how I go.
Okay, brother.
What up to Zach? We up to Here I Go again.
Here I go. Okay. Again, so unlike probably a couple of you, I heard the original version first. I think it's hard for people when they've heard the 87 version and they hear the other version. But so I love the original version was actually a single. I remember, except they changed the word hobo to drifter.
To drift, yeah,
drifter.
Yeah, the original was hobo.
To because they didn't No, I think they did it because of translation, because they wouldn't know what a
Yeah.
hobo was in the UK.
I
Yeah.
think they just
No, US.
I think it's just a better visual. Hobo's like a bum with all his belongings on his stick, wrapped up in the typical, like, for me, a hobo has got a particular thing, whereas a drifter, it's like Stallone at the start of First Blood, just someone cruising through town. So, but yeah, still Zach's too. Sorry.
I think this is an incredible rewrite, and obviously, they're we're talking about when people name Whitesnake, this would be the number one song that
Correct.
everybody knows, their biggest hit of all time. And the way they redid it is incredible, I think, with those sort of pumping verses. And there's also that, that other version, the AOR version that they released as well, which it's kind of weird they did that second version. It's kind of cool. I enjoy that too. That's got a Dan Huff solo on it. But yeah, this is kind of the perfect song. It's got that huge build up with Coverdale singing all sexy, and then there's first the ba-da-ba, and then into that the sort of what do you call that, the pumping verse. So it takes quite a while to get to the chorus, and then just bang. And look, I've grown to love the Adrian Vandenberg solo. I hated it when I was young, because I was like, and apparently when Sykes, when Coverdale did the box set, he looked everywhere for with the tracks for the John Sykes solo, but he couldn't find it. I'm always like, oh man, what Sykes would have done with that song would have just been a melodic masterpiece, and Sykes didn't have kind things to say about the Vandenberg solo, but I've grown to, it's part of the song now, and I've grown to love it. And this is a 10 out of 10 song. It's one of the greatest it's almost a power ballad, but it's not. It's an anthem, one of the greatest anthems of all time.
100%. John,
10 out of 10, Brad.
That's all you got to say?
That's all I've got to look. What are you going to say? If you've got to tell? I don't know. If someone needs an explanation why this song is a 10 out of 10, then why are you even talking to them about music?
Yeah.
All right. You want me to talk about it? I'll talk about it. I mean, number one, it's just like you said, the Whitesnake song that everybody knows, classic song. My friends, if I wasn't doing this, I would have been at my friend's gig this afternoon, 2 hours away. And they started doing this a few months ago, and still remember the first night they did it. They said, "Oh, should we keep this one?" They said the crowd just loved it. It is a sing-along song. It's forget how good the music is, how good the lyrics are, how good the song itself is. It takes the listener with them. And in the end, the only reason we do music is to take someone with you, for people to have that emotional attachment to it. And out of all the songs that we've discussed today, this is what this song does in spades. So, it's brilliantly done. The original version, I agree, great song as well. I think that changing Hobo to Drifter is a lot better. But man, the original song was great. This song, up a notch. The way the solo just goes up like a step, another step, and another step, and another step. There you go. I mean, like I said, I don't know how that would convince anyone to like the song more than what they did like it. If they didn't like it to start off with, I want to know what the hell's wrong with them.
Well, you guys have pretty much read all my notes, so I don't really know what else to say. Here I Go Again. I mean, it's a great remake. It's the catchiest song on the album, without a doubt. And I understand why Coverdale redid the song, because of that reason. I think it's, maybe it wasn't, in Coverdale's eyes, successful enough for the song. I think he wanted it to be out there again and push it again as a song that he was proud of. It's got that upbeat sort of drive in the rhythm there with the drums and bass. while the guitars are, it's a great song. Coverdale's vocals are incredible on this song. He's very sultry. He's got that thing going on with him, and then he pushes and he puts himself into the song. He's portraying someone or conveying someone's sense of personal transformation. In my opinion, you can really hear it in his vocal. I don't have a problem with Adrian Vandenberg's solo. I actually think he's a great player, and I like the solo fits. I have to agree with you, Zach, though. I would love to have heard what Sykes would have put on that. I'm picturing in my head, I've always thought it would have been something similar to Is His Love, that sort of vibe, with a fast run in it somewhere. Look, the riff alone makes this song one of Whitesnake's most iconic hits. You can't really give this anything but a 10 out of 10, guys. Never a skip for me. Andrew.
Hey, Tim, good to see you, bro. Thanks for joining us. Where do I start that you guys haven't already been to with this song? I just suppose I should start from the top, Brad. Another perfect 80s song. The drama of the lyrics. Check this lyric out, I'm just another heart in need of rescue, waiting on love's sweet charity. What a fantastic, simple, and when I was a young guy, Zach, I understood exactly what he was singing about, with that lyric. It's just fantastic. The beauty and the power of the song, Brad, it's just fantastic. It deserves its place in rock and roll history because, as you guys have already said, people just loved it. And when people love a song and it becomes popular, that's not a bad thing. It's a Brad score for me. I think the solo is just fantastic. I never had a problem with the solo either too, Zach, when I found out that there was another cat recording on this as opposed to the videos, I would have loved to have, like Brad said, heard what John. Maybe they might find something. I don't know. But there's two great 80s songs on this album, Brad. That deserve their place in rock and roll. And because of that, you've got to rate the album as a masterpiece, even though it's got a couple of duds on it, Zach, it's incredible. I've given this a Brad score. One of my favourite 80s songs, Brad.
Yeah.
And John, again, seriously, before we chuck it over to Zach, I get the point that you were making with your contribution to the song, sometimes you just have to give a score and say, just listen to it. Nothing I can say is going to do this song justice. And, the fact that you've pointed out that this is one of those songs that you just need to say to somebody, here, listen to this. Take the headphones off and listen to this. Take the Walkman off back in the day that we used to have. Listen to this.
And this song is exactly why we got to give Coverdale a bit of stick when he comes out with crappy lyrics, because the lyrics on this song are fantastic. And they're nothing super intricate. It's not a massive story, but what it does is it again, we all come to a song and find what we find out of it. But it highlights something that we've all felt at one time or another, is that here is this guy on his own with no one to back him up. And
hey, mate, when you've been dumped, this is one of those great songs to get pissed to.
But the thing is, because we've all been there, when we hear this song, we're all together again. And then all of a sudden we've got kindred spirits around us and we're not alone anymore. So that's the beauty of this song.
Yeah. Gives you a bit of...
it's a pump-up.
Especially once you've had a few whiskeys or vodkas under your belt, this song gives you a bit of hope, if you're dealing with a bit of heartache, gives you a bit of hope, here I go again, anyway.
Like I said, when you see sort of sometimes the cover band will pull out a track and then all of a sudden the crowd goes nuts on it. And you think, oh, geez, I wasn't expecting such a big reaction to this song. But, this one's a no-brainer, so everybody just gets right into this one.
Yep.
Actually, I do remember playing this in Rewind 80s, and I I think I'm not sure you were still in the band, Zach, at that point, but I do remember going, this song got the best reaction out of the whole set.
Wow.
Yeah,
Should put
it
it
was
back
at
in, mate.
commercial hotel where you come and saw me play, John.
Yep.
The commercial hotel there. I think we played it there, and I remember like we had some great songs in the set, and I thought, not sure about this song that's going to work here but it got the best reaction. So, it did always get a big reaction. I don't know why we don't play it no more.
Man, I'm the same. When my mates were going to play it, I thought to myself, I suppose, no worries. And then I was kind of surprised by how big a reaction it got. And then I was surprised that I was surprised.
Anyway, I've got one more song to do, gentlemen. Zach, what's the last one?
Okay, you're gonna break my heart again, which I think I obtained it as a. I'm not sure if it was on my vinyl. With back in the day, they always bands always put out especially like Iron Maiden and stuff like songs that weren't on the album. So I always bought EPs and I would make up my little cassette version of it and it'd just stay in my car, And so this was always a part of the album for me, and it's the perfect end song to the album. It's a drop D riff. There's some killer guitar playing in it. I have no idea why it wasn't on the US version because it's just I'll give it a 10 out of 10. It's got a killer solo in it. That sort of melodic shredding that he does. And then there's that breakdown afterward where he's doing all those I don't know what to call it, but that double sort of picking thing there. With it's got all the great Coverdale being sexy again and the whales and it's a sleeper, but it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Great way to finish the album.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, I've got down that I really enjoyed the guitar solo. Another one of these, as I term them, widdly type sort of solos that the good ones are great and the bad ones are terrible. This is definitely a good one. I was just looking at my own theory of why they might have dumped this one, and I'm just thinking that they obviously had their 4 sort of singles that they were going to keep. And then their brief was to get rid of 10 minutes. And I think that's why Looking for Love and You're Going to Break My Heart Again went, because then all the other possible, sort of songs that they jettisoned were maybe a little too short. This one, again, not reaching the heights of the greatest tracks on this album, but definitely sitting there in the middle if you're going to just go song by song. But I think it's a good finish to the album. Kind of hard to be seen as a classic after you've just come after Here I Go Again. But I enjoy it. I wouldn't skip this one, and I gave it a high 7, low 8.
Fair enough. Well, for me, You're Going to Break My Heart Again. I think it's the perfect album closer. So I don't know why you wouldn't put it anywhere, but like you said, it didn't come out on the album. I was like, doesn't make sense to me. But I think it's a tough as nails guitar riff. It's you mentioned the drop D thing, Zach, and I always love a good drop D sort of balls to the wall sort of riff. The track has like it's got a lot of sections going on there. Coverdale's vocals are very passionate. He sings fantastically. John Sykes' guitar work, where do you begin? He's got incredible rhythm guitar playing on this song. And it features like classic Sykes raw guitar solo, throwing in a lot of his techniques in there. It's a strong 9. I originally gave it an 8, but I listened to it a few times, this song. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip for me, guys. Andrew.
Yeah, again, guys, look, I've got to agree with you. I've got a note here. The star of this song is John's guitar. All the previous elements and the previous songs are all here on display, and Zach kind of said that in his intro. You know, you've got the chug, you've got the sweeping going on here, you've got the single note leads, you've got the arpeggio chords. Is there a little bit of tapping going on in this song as well? I don't know. You know, it's everything is compiled in this solo, and I think they did that on purpose, Zach. I think this is what John's wanted. I'm going to have everything that I've done on this solo. I think it's a fantastic solo. It's definitely, according to the couple of guys that I've spoken to at work during the week, definitely a sleeper track, Brad. It's you know, and I think it's one that we could probably point people to, besides the 2 stars or the 3 stars on this album, if you wanted somebody to sort of get an idea of who John Sykes is as a guitar player. This is one of those tracks. And because of that, I've given it a 9 out of 10. I did have one of my friends say to me, though, that this song should be the second to last song. And the song that we just ranked, and said that's one of the perfect songs, the album should have finished with that song. So I get that argument too. I never thought of that, but I get that. It was Carl who said that.
I'm wondering, Zach, if you know this or not, did they ever play You're Gonna Break My Heart Again live?
No, they didn't.
Brad score. No, 9 out of 10.
It's very much a John Sykes thing. You know, I could have. Did Blue Murder ever play it, or did Sykes ever play it solo?
No.
Yeah, it's a pity. It's a great song.
What do you guys think about? I just read this a couple of days ago. One of the and again, I'm only passing on what I read, so don't crack me open with it. Okay. You know how names of bands are really important as far as marketing and image of a band. It's like it's an important thing. Blue Murder just didn't cut it. Well, you know, that just didn't help put the band on the musical landscape.
The name, you mean the name?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think band names are pretty important. Yeah.
They should have just called the band Sykes.
Probably would have made.
Well, they did
sense.
eventually. They did eventually.
Oh, okay.
Was it Geffen signed him as Blue Murder though, didn't they? Was it Geffen?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they were the big thing at the time. So if they, you would have thought if they thought otherwise, they would have said Sykes back then. Might have made a bit of difference to his career move at the point. Who knows? It's a good point though, Andrew. Yeah.
There's lots of rumours as to why Blue Murder didn't happen. You know, apparently there's some skullduggery happening at Geffen because they're on the same label as Coverdale, you know. So,
yeah, and when
lots of rumours
Geffen's into skullduggery, he does skullduggery.
Yeah. Do we know, Zach? You're pretty good with this stuff. What's happening with Sykes now? I mean, I knew he was releasing an album, was working on it. What do you know much about what's happening movement-wise?
I think he's basically retired. He put out a couple of songs a couple of years ago, and then he's pretty much stopped all social media and everything. I think, you know, the music business is nothing like what it was, and I think he just doesn't want to be involved in it. He's probably happier just being at home, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
well, thanks, guys.
But yeah, great show, guys. Well done. Thanks, Zach and John.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No, it's been our pleasure. So just before we go, so Hugh's ranked this 9 out of 10 as an album. I reckon as a whole 9 out of 10 is that's a pretty fair score for me. What about you, Brad?
Yeah,
I think
9.5. 9.5.
Okay.
Out of 10. If it didn't have some of those track fillers there, I'd probably give it 10.
Yeah.
Because the strength of the other songs, definitely. Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for sure.
John?
Different to you guys because I hadn't listened to it, for all these years. So it's still a very fresh thing for me, and it's a fresh old thing. And also, the difference between, sort of 22-year-old me to today me is that there's so much more music that I've got to choose from to listen to now. I wonder how I'm going to get through it all, So when this was presented to me, I thought to myself, well, I never really heard it too much, kind of like it, not sure if I'm a real big fan. Turned out to be a bigger fan of it than I thought I would be. Look, it's definitely a strong album. I want to go back and listen to a lot more Whitesnake all the way through. It's got me in the mood to, which I haven't had a chance yet to check out the Slip of the Tongue, because obviously that's going to be kind of a sort of a sister album to this one, I would imagine. I was familiar with the singles off that as well, so definitely the same sort of thing going on there. I don't know if I can boil it down to a number. I definitely enjoyed it, but it's kind of hard to put it in the same perspective of what you guys have got, because I'm coming to it from a completely different angle.
Oh, and we appreciate that, and thank you, because it was that dynamic that made the show interesting. And as I say, it's always a pleasure having guests on, folks. And if you want to come on and hang out with us, I'm just going to say again, Zach, thanks for coming on. John, Brad, thank you, bro, for being here.
No worries.
We won't be here next weekend, folks. I've got some family stuff that I've got to do, so Brad and I might do something this week, midweek, and we might do something midweek after the weekend. So hit the subscribe button and the notification button, and someone here on the channel will do something.
We won't bother doing a shout out to everyone in the chat, but thank you everyone for joining us. We saw all your wonderful comments there, and we really appreciate every single one of you for coming into the chat family, as John put it. And
yes,
so
definitely.
Thank you so much. Anyone who's watching our channel later, please subscribe. We don't force it upon anyone, but if you dig what we do here and you like a bit of fun, just subscribe, press the button, and give us a thumbs up. We're nearly at 10,000 subs now, which is mind-blowing to think we're at this point, like considering where it was, a year ago, Andrew. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, thank you, guys. And thank you, Zach, brother. Love you, mate. John, thank you. Love you too, mate. And bye.
For anyone watching a replay, I hope you're reading the chat on it as well. So always wait a couple of days for the chat to come up, because it's a very important part of the show. That's where you'll normally see me. So
there you go.
Awesome.
Stick around, you two.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, stick around. Stick around.